In recent times, I've received more and more inquiries from you guys regarding Suzuki's little Jimny, and specifically whether or not the Jimny is a suitable vehicle to use for overlanding, and it's a very good question. Now, in order to answer this question properly for you, we've decided to buy our own Suzuki Jimny.
Zambia is definitely one of the most overlooked destinations for overlanding, but in my opinion, Zambia is the Premier League of overlanding destinations. It's an overlanding mecca.
When we arrived at Ironman to go and collect a few things before tour, we saw Mick packing the Jimny and he said he was taking it with him. I was like, no, you're not. Oh, you really? You really are.
I got myself a little performance certificate from the Zambia Traffic Police.
Yes, the roads are difficult in some places. The conditions can be tough. The one place that stands out of all of them is South Luangwa National Park. I'm Simon Stedman from Ultimate Adventures, and we operate guided self-drive 4x4 tours through southern and eastern Africa. This particular tour to North and South Luangwa is probably one of our more adventurous tours on the calendar. But in my opinion, the Luangwa Valley is probably one of the most spectacular wildlife destinations in Africa. The campsite at Kapisha Hot Springs is situated on the banks of the Mancha River, so you've got that constant flowing water sound going past you at night, which is very soothing. And then the walk through the forests to the hot springs is a beautiful little kind of rainforesty feel, and the bird life in there is spectacular.
And then you get to the actual springs. It's just, you sit in there, 40-degree water, and you just look down because it actually flows into the river through these beautiful massive trees, and then all this steam comes off it, and it's magical, magical. So the pontoon is a very rugged, last-minute built pontoon, because every year when the floods come down, it obviously washes everything away. So it always changes along the river. So eventually when we got to the pontoon, it's just a whole lot of branches put across the sand, and when you go over it and you've done it, you look at it and you're like, this is Africa.
We have arrived at Camp Ituba, right next to the Luangwa River. Look at this beautiful view. Just river frontage everywhere, nice and shady, beautiful ablutions. Oh, this is an epic camp spot, look at that. Hopefully there's some ellies or animals coming through later this afternoon. It's still very hot, but super happy to be here. Wow.
Okay, so we've just arrived at Ituba Camp, which is in the southern part of the North Luangwa National Park. We drove all the way from Somala this morning, so we drove from north to south. It was a long day in the saddle, but beautiful. Not much game around, but hard driving. Landscape changed often, trees were incredible, but it was absolutely worth the drive. They say hard roads lead to beautiful places, and this campsite where we're at Ituba, we're on the South Luangwa River, sun is setting, it's starting to cool down, and yeah, we're excited to head into South Luangwa soon, where we're going to have epic sightings of wildlife.
Mick, this is arguably one of the toughest overlanding trips we've done, and you are doing it in a Jimny.
Mm-hmm.
How's it been?
Better than expected.
Really?
But I think the toughest part of the journey was the tar roads and the pothole tar roads and the trucks and the rats in the road and whatnot. That's concentration for 8-9 hours a day. Driving through the bush and over stones and through river runs and stuff, that's not really hard.
I was worried about overtaking in the Jimny, especially in Zambia. You have to overtake.
That was my one concern when I left home, was that how am I going to keep up with a convoy, given that as the Jimny is all packed up, it's kind of hard keeping to 120 k's an hour. But once I got to Zambia, I realized, well, the speed limit here is 100, and it manages that fine. And overtaking, third gear is your best friend.
Where's the refs going?
Oh, look, 5. Yeah, but red line's like 6.5. And remember, that little engine is like, it's like a sewing machine, bro. You just
Yeah.
It's surprising. I haven't struggled with it at all. Not once that I feel, I could have done with a turbo or more power or a 2-litre motor or whatever.
And the suspension, that's been working.
Oh, look, I thought it would be a bit sharp because I've driven 1 or 2 Jimnys, standard empty Jimnys with our shocks in, and it's very controlled. But I thought it was a tad sharp. But that, suspension ride quality is a very personal thing. And but the bird life here is phenomenal.
It's insane.
It's a very personal thing. So what's nice for me is not nice for the next person. But with the load on that she's got, and a couple of times when we were doing some really bad gravel roads, and I thought it's getting a bit, it's getting a bit bouncy, and just up the speed very slightly. Just always being cognizant of do you still have full control? And I tell you what, they're like little mini foam cell pros. Seriously, I'm gobsmacked. I haven't bottomed out once. I haven't felt the car, all the weight is now in the back of the Jimny. And I haven't felt once that there was any possibility that it could get out of hand. I'm very, very chuffed, very comfortable. I'm having the best fun, buddy.
I can see that.
Because,
if I look in my rear mirror, you're just having a ball. Yeah. Now another question. The Uber Light rooftop tent. That's our new little Uber Light.
Yes.
How's that been?
Surprisingly great. I like the fact, especially last night. Last night it was, when the sun was going down, it was still 30 plus. And I just zipped all the windows. It's got very big windows. I just zipped them all down, kept the mosquito nets up there. The tsetsis here are relentless. And had my little Ironman tent fan going. It was great, yeah. It's not as quick as your tent is, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's not hard. I must tell you though that what I did realize is with the buckle system of the cover under the tent, the roof rack gets in the way a bit. We had to lift it so I could get my hands in there. And strictly speaking, it should be on 2 load bars, because then there's plenty of space and you can get around, and it's much easier to put together. So I think we might change that.
Okay, so one thing I did realize is that you kind of have to work at the campsite to get out your chair.
Yeah, so, yes, I've cracked it already. It's not going back up in the bag anymore. Okay. So, let me put it to you this way. When we build vehicles for customers in the shop, we always tell them that they're going to realize something after the first or maybe the second trip that needs changing.
It's a learning curve.
It's a learning curve. You don't build a vehicle straight up and then it's perfect. So I've realized in the Jimny that I've got my chair and my swag bags or sleeping bag. I've got in one of the Ironman rooftop travel bags in front of the tent, strapped down. So every afternoon you've got to undo the straps. So you've got to get up on the side and get up this side, undo the straps, get them out. And really, when you get to campsite, your chair and maybe a table are the first 2 things you want access to. So the table in the Jimny's case is easy. That's hanging underneath the front runner roof rack. But the chair is stuck in that bag, and like
it's a bit of a mission, yeah.
Yeah, yesterday at the ferry crossing, I used the word ferry in inverted commas, pontoon rather. Let's call it a pontoon.
I just want to say something about that pontoon. I think when you got onto the pontoon, it actually lifted up.
Oh, nice. It breathed a sigh of relief after all the heavy vehicles. Yeah, so for the rest of the trip, I've got a lot of space on top of the fridge and on top of the ammo boxes with my Ironman duffel bag where my clothes are in. So I'm just going to stick them in there for the rest of the trip, because they're like, last thing in, first thing out. And I think I would certainly, I mean, I brought this chair with because it's big and comfortable. We've got smaller chairs, which are arguably as comfortable, but they're smaller, they take up more space. And I guess with a Jimny, you've got to get your head around, you know, using smaller things, smaller chair, smaller table.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But that's really those two things, you know, getting the buckle system of the tent done in the mornings, and the chair are the only two things I can honestly say that are a little bit of a challenge, but only.
I'm really impressed, and I think this is the ultimate test for a Jimny.
So folks, that's the North Luangwa part of the trip done. Now we continue south in the direction of South Luangwa. We're going to be overnighting tonight at Kamakonzo campsite, a little community camp. Beautiful spot on the banks of the river. It's going to be a bit of a slow drive today, a little bit of off-roading, but it's only just over 100 k's or so it's not going to take us too long, but we can take our time and then get to camp in time to set up and enjoy sundown on the banks of the river.
Mick and I decided to do a different route to our next campsite tonight. It's a route right against the Luangwa River, but it hasn't been driven for a while. So there's a bit of scratching, but man, this forest, mupani trees everywhere, is beautiful. Oh!
So from Ituba, we head south, just away from the river a little bit. We actually kind of drive down parallel to the river for a while. And in between North and South Luangwa, there's a little community-run campsite called Kamakonzo. It's always worth a stopover because it's a bit of a long drive to do in one day. And we like to support these community campsites as well. And you'll see Kamakonzo, once again, on the banks of the river, beautiful view. And I think what's kind of special about that place is how it's run. The guys are very proud to have their little campsite there. When you get there, they start pumping the water from the well. They've actually got a pipeline that goes down into the river with a hand pump. So they fill buckets of water, put that in the buckets for a shower for everybody. And they're just so happy to have us there, really. You can just see the smiles on their faces when this massive convoy pulls in.
Early morning here at the Kamakonzo community campsite. It's a beautiful, beautiful picture right next to the Luangwa River. The guys get water from underground, they pump it up for you, get it into the showers, and ablution facilities are beautiful. It's a stunning, stunning campsite. But today we are on our way to South Luangwa, and the excitement is boiling because the wildlife is going to increase tenfold. I cannot wait to get there. We've got about 5 hours in the saddle, do a bit of shopping in between, but then we are where we want to be, South Luangwa. Now the real wildlife starts, Mick.
Yeah, but you know what? Yes, that is the highlight of the trip. But just we've seen so many stunning things
on the way here that, you know, non-wildlife. I mean, those trees yesterday in the forest, oh, mind-blowing. I was so chilled out. Oh, I hope I can get into the groove when I get back home, man. It's just beautiful.
Convoy, I'm excited to announce that today we head to South Luangwa National Park, the crescendo of the trip. We're going to be heading down to Wildlife Camp. We've got 122 k's to get there. Road conditions today are going to be pretty much the same as yesterday. We're going to drive through a few villages, and once we get to the tar road, we can just pump up the tyres a little bit because the worst of the roads are over, and then we're going to head off to Wildlife Camp, set up camp, and enjoy the welcoming sight of the swimming pool, where we can just sit in the pool, drink something cold, and watch the Luangwa River. So from Kamakonzo campsite, we keep going south in the direction of Mfubi town, and we travel through a wildlife area called the Nsefu sector, and that's kind of when the game viewing starts. There's quite a lot of game in that area. There's a few lodges there, so you can stay in that area as well and do game drives around there. And then when we get to the tar road, we head through the little town of Mfui, which is where we'll get some supplies, fill up with fuel, and then head to the wildlife camp.
We've just stopped in Mfui to do some last minute shopping before we head into the campsite at South Luangwa. It's anywhere between 40 and 45 degrees C at the moment. It's just mental. So we've done some essentials. According to Dirk, this is essential. So I've had to throw good food away in order to make place for these. Anyways, he deserves it. It's hot, man. It is deadly hot. But we had a phenomenal drive here, and looking forward to our time in South Luangwa.
I'm losing my mind for the sake of love. I've been trying to reveal it, what I've been so afraid of. Your coldness makes my heart go weak, so numb that I can barely speak. This pain keeps water in the sea. If I weren't so desperate to be free, I'd keep my distance, babe. The more that I know about you, the more that I want you, baby. They say that good love will yield the best from me. I know it to be true. This moment won't last forever. No remedies whatsoever. These feelings we choose to pass on for lesser love. You know it to be true. I'm lost in a manic dream. It weighs on me endlessly. Your tenderness drifts in the wind. The depth of your love is a sin. I'll keep my distance, babe. It's all by design, blinded in the fog of love. Why don't you tell me, baby? What are you dreaming of?
Dirk, we've eventually arrived at Wildlife Camp on the banks of the Luangwa River. That's South Luangwa behind me. First thing we did when we got to camp was straight into the swimming pool. We've been dreaming about this moment for days. So as you can see, everybody's chilling out in the pool. Tomorrow morning we head into the park, go see what we can find.
We were sat here in the pool, sipping on an ice cold beer, and Ellie's just walked right past us in front of the sunset. We have arrived.
I think for me the big attraction for South Luangwa is it's kind of a mix of so many different parks and areas that we know and love in southern Africa. That Luangwa River with the Oxbow Lagoons, it's iconic. I mean, you've seen it on the documentaries, and when you're there and you see just hundreds of hippos and massive crocodiles, it kind of excites you. Like, I've seen this on TV and now I'm here.
South Luangwa is a very unique park. It's very diverse. It feels like you're in very different areas. So in some stages you feel like you're in Maremi. In some stages you feel like you're in Monopools, just with those trees. Again, these massive, massive trees and massive forests. And what makes it so special is that Luangwa River, especially at this time of the year because it's so dry. There's not much water inland, so all the animals concentrate down to the river.
Thank you so much for watching. If you do like the videos, please like and subscribe and share with your friends. And if you want to tour with Ultimate Adventures, go to ultimateadventures.tv. See you next time.
You would be, not a little, you would be.